Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday, September the 9th, regular council meeting. Before we begin the council meeting tonight, we have two public hearings to attend to. I'm going to be reading a public hearing statement that will apply to both of the public hearings, so I don't have to read it twice. And then we'll get into the public hearing itself. These public hearings are being held pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaws that are the subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaws have been made available to the public. Council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. And speaking of the correspondence, there is some on the side table that came in later today. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing, so that'll be later on tonight. At that time, any questions of staff will be for clarification purposes only. I will be inviting the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record and are encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all of the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or third time once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. I would now ask the planner in Development Services to introduce the first item for the first public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first item is for a rezoning, Z19-014 at 5010 Croyle Avenue. The rezoning is to facilitate a 3-lot subdivision on this property. All lots meet the minimum lot area. Lot 3 is shown as a 442 square meter lot. However, the zoning bylaw allows for minimum lot areas to be calculated prior to dedication, which has this lot at 471 square meters, where the minimum lot size is required at 460. All lots provide for a minimum of 100 square meter building area, and there are a few site-specific provisions that are being proposed. On proposed lot 2, it is to permit the existing deck to remain within 4.63 meters of the rear property line. Generally, a deck would be permitted to project another 2 meters into a rear yard, which would be 5.5 meters, so the actual projection is less than a meter. For lot 3, it's to allow for a 1.5 meter exterior side yard setback adjacent to the unconstructed road dedication at the south of the parcel. There does not appear to be any intention to construct this road, and through the referral process, no further dedication was required along that section. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come to the podium to speak to this matter before us? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Rob Brownlee. I'm at 1515 Wharf Street. My comments are about the dedication of, or the designation of that road on, I guess, what is the south end of the property. And currently, the planner had said that there's no desire to develop that into a road at the present time, but I'm curious as to what would happen in the future if that did become a road, because on the other side of that road is a 22-unit development that is currently being in the process of being developed, and that road would possibly create Croyle into a through street rather than a current dead-end street. And my concerns would be that possibility happening, and and Coral Street becoming a through road for a much larger development. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask for the second time. Is there anyone that would like to come and speak to this matter?
I'm Tony Cottrell, live at 5811 Cruel Avenue. It's a couple of houses down from this property, and both my wife and I have got serious concerns with turning this from a single large lot into three, and subdividing that into two would cause us no problem at all. But what is referred to as Lot 3 there, in fact, does not conform to the RSD 1 regulations, which require a minimum lot area of 460 square meters, and clearly this one here is 442. And further, the lot depth does not conform as well. In fact, none of them do, but I've got no real concern with that. But I really think you are pushing things if this lot here does not conform in 2 dimensions to the regulations. And I can see little reason for waiving that in this particular case. And our major concern with that very small lot there is this is a very very narrow road if you've ever driven down it, and people parking on the road really cause congestion there. And I can see with a small lot like that, if they've got a couple of vehicles there, then probably one of them is going to be parking on the road. So I would like you to take that certainly the non-conformance into account when you're looking at this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cottrell. I'll ask for the third time now. Is there anyone that would care to speak to this public hearing?
My name is Grant Evans. This is my wife, Angela. We're the owners of 5010 Croyle Avenue. Thank you to Mayor Boot and members of council for providing us the opportunity to share with you tonight, and thank you for how each of you serve our community for the betterment of all. I know it's not always a wonderful position to be in, so thank you. We wanted to start off by saying that district staff members, Dave Patey, Kevin Taylor, and Don Booth, have been very helpful throughout the rezoning application process. My wife and I moved to Croyle Avenue about 1.5 years ago, and we love the community we live in. We have a great relationship with our neighbors. We are very welcoming and supportive, and everyone takes great care of their properties. Our son helps many of the neighbors with yard work, heavy lifting, and shoveling snow. Both our kids enjoy taking the neighbors' dogs for walks. Out of respect for our neighbors, and in addition to the city's signage, we held an information session for our neighbors to show them what we would like to do with the property and answer any questions they may have had. Because we love this neighborhood, we hope to build our forever home on proposed Lot 1. Our intentions are to sell proposed Lot 3 to help facilitate the building of our new house. We care about the future of our world and our community, so we hope to build an energy-efficient house with a xeriscape yard. We are excited about the forward-thinking changes our district is initiating, such as the solar farm and multiple EV charging stations. This is a community we look forward to growing old in. We hope you will support our application for rezoning. Thanks.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to come to the podium to speak to this matter?
I'm Laverne Fox, and our property is to the south of the property in question, and we've been there for quite a while. over 50 years.
Could I have you just speak into the mic there, if you can
We can't hear
pull
you.
it up a bit?
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, I'm not against the subdivision that they're asking for. What I am against, though, is the designation of a road at the south end of that property. Because a road is a road, and somebody will want to use it. Now, there's already been a change on our property so that they can get the services through to the, what was the campsite. And so I would assume that you'd want to say the road goes right over to the campsite. And to me, I'm not in agreement of that at all. And so my complaint, or my request is that that road be taken out as far as a road and designated as a service, or as an easement for services to probably to the campsite. And anyway, it's a dead-end street there too, so we don't need any more traffic coming down and trying to turn around and knocking out our pillars or whatever. And, you know, how we can keep that traffic down would be a great help. And so my request is that be designated as a service, not a service road, but as a service to, I guess, to the campsite. Because already, there was, well, the campsite, what was the campsite has already requested that there be, the service would go right through to their campsite, because at this time, they can't get there without going through our property. And we have okayed that and put it through, but I wasn't aware that this was a road, and then never have we ever talked about it being a road. So I don't know where this came from. Maybe it's historical way back somewhere, but how far are we going to go back to dig out stuff? And to me, that's, the road is a no-no. A service area, fine, we've already set, that's already set up. So anyway, that's my request.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to clarify, I think that the neighbors might be under the impression that this road that was there when we purchased the property, so, because we looked at it before. But I think when they saw this map with the proposed development, they're thinking that is like becoming a road. And so I think that's what some of the confusion is, and why they're quite worried that there's now going to be a road going through that's what right now is a stretch of grass. So it's as Dave and Kevin have said to us, that this is not, no one's ever planned on putting this through. In fact, at the back end of that road, there's a huge, like, 2-story carriage house built back there. So it won't go through anywhere. And therefore, that's why they said we could propose to have the side setback be a little bit more narrow than it would normally be. Like, you could build the house a little bit closer to that, you know, quote, quote, road than you normally would to a road, because it's never going to actually be a through road. So that's just to clarify what I think the neighbors are upset, because they think that's going to become a through road as part of this proposal, which is never, that's not our property at all. It's never been part of our control or plan.
Thank you. Anyone else? Or anyone that would like to speak for a second time? All right. So I will adjourn the meeting then, and we'll revisit this later on in the agenda. Could I have someone bring forward that recommendation, please? Thank you. Second for the adjournment, and all in favor? Thank you. So moving on now to public hearing number 2. And is this yours again, Kevin?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. An application has been made for a text amendment to the central business zone to allow for single dwelling units to be a permitted accessory use. Currently, the only form of dwelling unit permitted in the CB1 zone are apartment housing, which is defined in the zoning bylaw as 4 or more dwelling units. Obviously, there are a fair number of single dwelling units in the downtown. It would be better for the owners of these buildings to have the dwelling units permitted in zoning. Second portion of this bylaw is to permit craft brewery or distillery as a permitted principal use in the zone. In October 2018, this use was added as a site-specific provision to a portion of the building at 13220 Victoria Road North. Since that time, a brewery has established, indicating that this is a compatible use in the commercial core and should be permitted zone-wide. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, people in the gallery are invited to come up and speak to this public hearing if they wish. Okay, I'll ask a second time. And a third time. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this? All right. Could I ask for someone, again, Marty Van Alphen? Sorry, Councillor Van Alphen, Councillor Patton, all in favor? Okay, public hearing number 2 is adjourned as well. So we're on to, I'll call the meeting to order for our regular council meeting for September the 9th. And are there any late items to introduce, Corporate Officer?
There are no late items.
All right. So if I could ask for approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Van Alphen, Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Okay. And adoption of the minutes from last meeting, August the 26th. Councillor Traynor and Councillor Patton, all in favor? That's approved as well. And now on to delegations. Okanagan Circles for Reconciliation, the TRC Study Group. I would like to invite Barbara Thorburn to come forward.
It'll take a minute here. First of all, I would like to give you this book. It's the final report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. We're giving it to the District of Summerland, Mayor Booth.
Thank you.
It's the topic of our conversation tonight. And I'm not sure, okay. Okay. So Mayor Boot, council, staff, and visitors. First of all, on behalf of our delegation, I'd like to thank you, Madam Mayor, for this opportunity to come before you today and speak on a topic of utmost importance to our community and to all of Canada. I'm here representing the Summerland contingent of the Okanagan Circles for Reconciliation, as well as the South Okanagan Truth and Reconciliation Commission Study Group. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the initiative that was adopted by the District of Summerland at the Council's Committee of the Whole this afternoon, and that was to initiate and deepen your relationship with the Penticton Indian Band. So congratulations on that initiative. But before proceeding, I'd first like to acknowledge and express my respect for the Syilx Okanagan peoples upon whose traditional and unceded territories we are gathered today. I'd also like to acknowledge the ongoing work of the Okanagan peoples, whose rich history goes back thousands of years and whose historical and cultural relationship with the land continue to this day. I'd like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to gather, to live, to work, and to play on this unceded territory. For the past several years, I've joined many other settlers to learn more about the tragic and devastating consequences of colonialization and to learn more about, as well as respect and appreciate, the resiliency of the Okanagan people and the First Nations people across Canada. Members of our group, some of whom are here today, have attended meetings, events, activities, workshops. We've been involved in study groups and have participated in events such as the blanket exercise, all in order to learn about the history and culture of the Syilx and other Indigenous peoples, and to work on reconciliation. We're asking you, as the governing body of the District of Summerland, to join in this journey towards reconciliation. So as you know, the Truth and Reconciliation's findings were released in 2015. It included 94 recommendations for action and called on governments, educational and religious institutions, civil society groups, and all Canadians to take action on the 94 calls it identified. And if you note, for the council and our mayor, you have a little mini version of the 94 calls right in front of you. Of particular relevancy to the municipal governance is the call to action number 57, which is education to public servants on the history of Aboriginal peoples. And I'm going to read it because we think it's extremely important. We call, and this is right from the call to action from the TRC Commission report. We call upon federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal governments to provide education to public servants on the history of Aboriginal peoples, including the history and legacy of residential schools, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, treaties and Aboriginal rights, Indigenous law, and Aboriginal Crown relations. This will require skills-based training in intercultural competency, conflict resolution, human rights, and anti-racism. We believe that education is crucial because it provides the foundation for reconciliation. The most consistent comment that you hear when speaking with Indigenous leaders is, truth is the way to reconciliation. Truth must come before reconciliation. It's the only way that we can move forward together. Since 2015, municipalities across Canada have been responding to the calls. And in your information package that we sent out last week, we provided you with links to just a few of the wide variety of strategies and that other municipalities are taking towards their reconciliation. Actions such as engaging in competency and awareness training, encouraging municipal staff and community members to become familiar with the work and recommendations of the TRC through newsletters, discussion groups, municipal online postings, forums, dialogue, Indigenous-led events, and on. They've established processes for collaboration on environmental issues and many more initiatives that are being taken place all across Canada. And we understand that you, Mayor Boot, and members of council and staff have embarked on initiatives to promote better working relationships and understandings, especially at the council-to-council level. We believe that addressing the TRC calls to action will support that initiative and help provide a strong foundation for improved communication and collaboration with the Penticton Indian Band, the Syilx people, the Okanagan Nation Alliance, and other Indigenous organizations. I don't know what slide I'm on now. So we also believe in our interactions with this community and the rest of South Okanagan that the community is behind this kind of initiative, but there is still a lot of work that has to be done at the community level as well as at the government level. The number of people that have attended events and have participated in a wide variety of activities in the South Okanagan and here in Summerland does show that there is a lot of community interest in this initiative. For example, over the past several years, the Summerland Philosophers Cafe has been very fortunate to have very knowledgeable speakers from the Indigenous community. And these people have been willing to share their knowledge with us, and they have challenged us to think about how we understand our colonial history. For example, First Nations knowledge keeper Henry Michael, author, educator, artist, and activist Jeanette Armstrong, Indigenous Studies professor Marlo Sam, publisher, professor, and Indigenous cultural advocate Gregory Younging. We've been very fortunate that these people have been willing to come to our community to share their knowledge. and it's been very challenging, too. So we hope you consider our request to move forward towards reconciliation by addressing the calls to action that are appropriate for the municipalities, especially number 57, and by adopting strategies and actions that reflect the spirit of truth and reconciliation. As Senator Murray Sinclair, who served as the chairman of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, said, reconciliation is yours or ours to achieve. We owe it to each other to build a Canada based on our shared future, a future of healing and trust. Whether we like it or not, we're already engaged. The question is, how are we engaged, and how do we want to change our engagement? The truth is for each of us to discover as members of educational and religious institutions, as governments, as civil society, and as Canadians. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you on this topic tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Does anyone have any questions for Barbara? Oh, Barbara, up you get. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the Okanagan Circles for Reconciliation and what it is.
Okay, it started off by Victoria Lane, who's sitting there. There is a nationwide, sort of like a website called Circles for Reconciliation, and it's like a template for learning. And if you go on their website, you'll see that it has written documents, summaries of the calls to action, and then it has questions, and it has things to think about and things to learn. So as a group, we spent, well, every month we got together and dealt with one of the issues and found it a very powerful experience. Would you like to say anything more?
Just that, yeah, the Circles for Reconciliation started in Winnipeg, and their modules, I think there was, when we were doing
Yeah.
about 14 modules, now there's, I think, 22 or 24, and they're just very easy to download the handouts and share in the circle, and so it's templated, like Barbara said, so it's easy to get together and just share. And yeah, very, very powerful experience.
Thank you.
He has another one for you.
Thanks. So you heard our conversation this afternoon,
I did.
right? And one of the things I think we were talking about was call to action number 57, as you talked about, and as you mentioned, we'll need some skills-based training to be able to implement that call to action. So would you be able to help us with that?
Oh, I'd love to. And I'm sure many members of our group that are far more knowledgeable about this would be very willing to provide kind of assistance.
Okay, thank you.
And if I'm correct, CAO, that would be a route through Angelique, who has this portfolio. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay, could I have someone bring forward this for information, please? Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That the September 9th, 2019 presentation of the Okanagan Circles for Reconciliation TRC Study Group be received for information.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Patton. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Great, that's approved. On to item 6, the opportunity for the public to comment. We have a total of 15 minutes that we can set aside in our business meeting for this. You are invited to speak to any of the items that are on the monitors there. If you want to speak to a development variance that may be before council tonight, please wait until the development variance is presented by our staff. So any of the items that are listed there.
It's all now.
Yeah, if you,
You may speak.
any order. So I presume you want to speak about 11.5?
That's correct.
Okay. And begin with your name and address, please, Peter.
Sorry?
Your name and address,
My name
please.
is Peter High, and I live at 10409 Happy Valley Road in Summerland.
Dorothea Atwater, same address.
Yeah, we are here to talk about a specific grant that we are applying for next year's Riga Arts Festival. Before we state that, I'd like to thank Council for its continuing support of the festival from day one, when we were the Marginal Arts Festival 4 years ago, to this moment, and specifically several of you, Mayor Booth, Councillor Holmes, Angelique Wood, who volunteered their time and talents at this year's festival. So we're putting an ad also into this week's papers, which is a big thank you. A big thank you from the Riga Arts Festival, which should appear on Thursday in the Review. And it's a thank you to 8 community partners and our funders from 3 levels of government. And I should say that the grants, we get two different grants from the federal government. We got 4 different grants from the provincial government, as well as, of course, the support from the district. We had 32 sponsors this year, large and small businesses. We had 18 separate donors. We had 54 volunteers, young and old, 12 guest performers, 104 local artists, and our audiences from near and far. And it's the local artists that I want to speak about, because the grant that we are applying for, which is from Canadian Heritage, from the federal government, is specifically for festivals like ours. And in fact, the only festival in Summerland that is eligible for that grant is the Riga Arts Festival. And it's specifically to support local, regional, local artists to perform. And several of our performances are centered on the community taking part in activities. For instance, Theatre Trail, obviously, Outspoken, which many of you have attended. And the first show we had at Center Stage, which was a celebration of George Riga and his works, was also done by local musicians and local artists. I'd like to follow through with what Barbara was saying, that the Riga Festival, from day one, because of George Riga's inspiration, has been, I hope, furthering the work of conciliation. And we have brought each year somebody from the PIB, Richard Armstrong usually, to open and welcome the festival. This year, we're very proud to have had Joan Phillip, also, who is the granddaughter of Chief Dan George. And Chief Dan George, of course, performed in the original Ecstasy of Rita Joe, and she spoke about that. Her husband, Chief Stuart Phillip, was also at that performance, or at that opening meeting. And then the final concert, we had Terry Lynn Williams Davidson and her distinguished husband, Robert Davidson, the great carver from Haida Gwaii, and we had an extraordinary performance then. Last year, we had Beth Sellers.
Peter, could I just interrupt you for a moment?
Yeah.
You will be afforded more time when this comes up to the agenda.
Yeah, what am I
And-
supposed to do now?
So I'm just requesting that you save the rest until this item comes up in the formal agenda.
Okay, so what am I?
This is a public comment period, so that everybody has the opportunity to speak, and it's supposed to be for 2 minutes, so.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Okay.
that. I thought this was my chance.
You will get another chance.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's sit down.
Should we sit down?
Yes.
Where's the book? Yeah, really. As Richard Armstrong said.
Okay.
That was the electric vehicle charging stations.
Will those be up there, though?
They will come up after.
Okay.
We've got them written up there.
Okay.
We had somebody call earlier.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to provide some comments on the agenda items? And whoever has the remote, I think the next slide, the next thing on the monitor is the resolutions that are coming out of our committee of the whole this afternoon. Perfect. There are 3 resolutions that are coming out of our meeting earlier today, which was another public meeting. It started at 1:30. And you are welcome to comment on any of these 3. If you maybe could just, the first one is about electric vehicle charging stations and a potential grant application. The second one is about, and Barbara spoke about this, is about deepening our relationship with the Penticton Indian Band and how we're going to be working forward with that. And the third one is a reallocation of funds to, what's the best way of putting this? To a reallocation of funds from the electrical utility to make the best use of the funding as we replace the poles that need to be replaced downtown, so the lamp standards, but also tying in with the work that is being done at Hillcrest Development, which is the one right across from the Memorial Park, the 88-unit rental housing development. So that's what the third one is. If anybody has any comments on any of those 3, they can also bring those forward at this time. Thanks. Okay.
Do you need my name and address again?
Do we need the name and address again?
No,
Oh.
We're good. Thank you.
I just wanted to say I am absolutely thrilled to hear about the movement towards the grant application for the EV charging stations. Some of you know I'm a huge EV advocate. I was one of the 3 organizers for the recent EV event that we held just in the high school parking lot over there. And again, we felt that was a huge success. And one thing, and I mentioned this to Tammy, that we kept hearing from many people who were EV owners is that they plan their visits to places based around EV charging infrastructure, you know, and ourselves included. You know, if we go away to a hotel, that's one of the first things we look for, is their charging accessibility. If so, we're going there. And so for us to be looking in that direction, putting in more charging stations, I think is a huge opportunity, not only to put us on the map in this regard, but also to just draw in more tourism dollars as EV ownership is starting to really skyrocket now. So I'm just really happy to hear that we're headed in this direction and leading the way in the Okanagan Valley. So thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? All right. So now you get to listen to me for a few minutes. My mayor's report for today. Summer 2019 is coming to an end. Temperatures are cooling, harvesting is in full swing, students are back to school, and this is my final report for the summer. Council will be in Vancouver on September 23rd, which would be our regularly scheduled meeting, to attend the Union of BC Municipalities Conference. So tonight is the only regular council meeting for the month of September. Towards the end of tonight's agenda, our CAO will be speaking about the minister meeting requests the district has submitted for this year's conference. Quite a few requests. We'll see what we get. On Tuesday, August the 27th, I attended the net metering open house held at the Arena Banquet Room as staff introduced how the program will operate in Summerland. In addition to the district information booth, 656 Valley solar panel installers had staffed exhibits at the open house. I went from there to attend the opening of Mixed and Merged at the Summerland Art Gallery. This show, in conjunction with the Riga Arts Festival, runs until September the 27th. The Summer Reading Club Awards ceremony was also on the evening of August 27th, and I will apologize again to Sue Klein and the library staff, as well as the award winners, for not being able to attend. But I would like to congratulate all the young participants and to the staff for another successful summer reading program. I attended the final Music in the Park for the summer on Wednesday evening. It was most appropriate that the Riga Arts Festival, once again, sponsored the Blue City Trio, as both Sergei Riga and his son Shay make up two-thirds of the trio. This very popular cultural event will return, this is the Music in the Park, in July 2020. And the Riga Fest will be back again too. On the last day of August, I traveled to Armstrong to take in the IPE and attend the dignitaries' luncheon hosted by the mayors of Armstrong and Spalmsheen. The Interior Provincial Exhibition celebrated its 120th year. The next morning, September the 1st, I attended the last event of the 2019 Riga Arts Festival. By all accounts, it was another very successful festival, particularly interweaving, which was the Saturday evening concert. And you attended that, Councillor Holmes. Yeah. And Councillor Barkwell. Excellent. September the 5th, Councillor Holmes and I attended the RDOS meeting, and Councillor Holmes has submitted an excellent report, it's on the table there, that summarizes the items that might be of interest to Summerland folks, including our new BC Transit Route 70 between Penticton and Kelowna. And Angelique Wood has been working on our behalf on that. Friday morning, I attended the Okanagan Basin Water Board AGM in Kelowna. The meeting included a very interesting panel discussion about the inside workings of an emergency operations center, including the military. It was really interesting. After lunch, the OBWB board met for the regular meeting. We as a board have requested a meeting with Minister Donaldson and Flynn Ward, so Forest Lands, Natural Resource and Rural Development staff, about milfoil management in the Okanagan Basin. Milfoil is starting to appear in more copious amounts than we would like, and we would like to be able to rototill it out again. On Friday evening, I attended the Summerland Fall Fair events in Memorial Park. Anyone who questions how many young people we have or don't have in Summerland should have been at the park. They were everywhere. It was fabulous. Saturday, I spent the day going back and forth between the 14th Apple Valley Cruisers Endless Summer Show and Shine at Memorial Park and at the 105th Summerland Fall Fair events at the curling rink. The change, and I was commenting to Councillor Holmes, who was also at the Show and Shine, the change in the park from Friday evening to Saturday morning was surreal. It was just amazing. I was tasked with making the mayor's choice out of 284 vehicles, and I was able to do that, Councillor Holmes. I chose a 1967 Granada Gold, that was the paint, Camaro. Unbelievably beautiful. Unbelievably. I heard later that he's selling that car. Not on my income, that's for sure. And I would like to thank Bill Wakeling, who's a member of the club but lives in Peachland, for accompanying me for more than an hour and a half and patiently answering my many questions about the cars. Also thanks to Jacques Lefebvre, did I pronounce that okay? who is the president of the club, Bob Kelly, Bill Laidman, and the entire Apple Valley Cruisers Club for organizing the show. Last year alone, the club donated $7,700 to local charities. So great to have them in Summerland. And I didn't write this in the report. I drew the ticket for the 50-50 draw. I won. I pulled my own ticket, so I just donated the money. It goes to the Breakfast Club at the school, so it's a really good charity. It's a little embarrassing, though. The Summerland Fall Fair was another successful festival this year and has already grown over last year after a 3-year hiatus. Over the day, several people who have lived in Summerland for less than a year approached me to say how much they appreciate the events, especially ones like the Fall Fair that have many activities for children. As much as we, as a council, would like to take the credit, the festivals and events just would not happen in Summerland without the incredible volunteers in our community. If you haven't had the chance, stroll through the downtown streets and look at the harvest displays that celebrate our agricultural economy. Therese Washtalk, Peter Holler, and the decorating committee, I thank you for your creative contribution to our downtown. They went above and beyond this year. If you haven't seen, go have a look. And finally, in case you haven't heard, the Summerland Rotary Sunday market dates have been extended to September the 15th, so there's one more Sunday. And also this Sunday is the Terry Fox Run. Registration is at 10 at the Aquatic Center. If you'd like to walk with me and my dog, please join us. Thank you. CAO.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So, been a fantastic coming up to a first month here at the organisation, and having a great time so far. It's been a busy couple of weeks with a number of meetings with staff, City Council, community groups, businesses, residents, to get a really good understanding of what's going on in the community. So really enjoying the first few weeks in the role. Today I actually had a chance to go and meet with the owner and operator at Mission Bottle Wash. So we've got an incredible facility, which is obviously reuse of an existing warehouse down on Jubilee. And they've also got 2 facilities in the community for wine storage, and that's wine storage for the entire South Okanagan Valley, from Mission Hill Winery in West Kelowna all the way down to Osoyoos. So incredible to see such an important cog in the wine industry's wheel right here in Summerland. So a fantastic opportunity there, and look forward to getting out and chatting with a bunch of other businesses and residents over the next few weeks. With regards to council committees, just a heads up, we've got it on our website, but the district's looking for a number of volunteers for our Water Advisory Committee, Agricultural Committee, and Climate Action Committee. So existing members are asked to reapply, and new applicants to submit their applications for council to make a decision in October of this year. Quick update on some other operational matters. Agricultural water reminder, our monthly consumption reports have been posted on the district's website. Notifications have been mailed out to all those property owners who exceeded 50% of their annual allotment, as a reminder for them to continue to monitor their consumption over the coming weeks. Over the last year or so, a couple of years, Council have invested heavily in our geographical information systems and updates to that program, or those programs with the asset management component being integrated into our system as we speak. So new information and new mapping should be rolled out to district staff over the coming months, and staff will be working to test these features, and then should be in a position to roll out new information to the community in early 2020. A quick staff announcement. Unfortunately, Dave Paddy, our manager at planning, will be leaving the district. Tonight's his last council meeting, and just want to wish David all the best in next step in his career. He's received or accepted a position, leadership role with the Sunshine Coast Capital District. So appreciate all the work that I've seen you in the last couple of weeks, but you've done a fantastic job for the district over the last year, and wish you all the best into the future. David, as I said, tonight's his last council meeting, so go easy on him tonight. Landfill update, landfill second scale. Detailed design is complete, and request of proposals is being issued September 9th and will close on September 7th. Construction is expected to start mid-October and completed by the end of November, which will alleviate some lineups and issues down the landfill, which will be great to see. Giants Head Mountain Trail redevelopment project. That project is 97% substantially complete as of August 23rd. The final works will be completed over the fall, and then consultation through our Parks and Rec department around pickleball, tennis, and dogs in parks has commenced as of August 26th this year. On the sustainability front, the district of Summerland has been confirmed as one of the 6 first wave case communities selected for Simon Fraser University's Integrated Climate Action Plan for BC communities. So this opportunity will provide direct support for the next 2 years to Summerland's efforts to integrate climate action across the organisation in a holistic and coordinated way, and demonstrates recognition of the work completed to date on bringing climate action lens to asset management and corporate decision making. And on the community development front, as you mentioned, Your Worship, Transit Penticton to Kelowna route is up and running, which is great. The Riga Arts Festival is a fantastic success, and the Scar Dog Show welcomed hundreds of participants to the Dale Meadows Park on the Labor Day weekend. So busy few weeks, and looking forward to an exciting bunch of time coming up.
Good. Thank you very much for that report. The next item are the resolutions that have been brought forward from this morning. Those are just for information. If you could put them up on the screen again, just to give folks an opportunity to read through those. They should be moved and seconded and voted on by council. Okay. Council, you have the opportunity to ask further questions of Tammy before we move these. Councillor Barkwell.
Yes, I was wondering, I presume there's quite a number of communities applying for these grants, and I was wondering what would make our application more attractive to receive this funding.
Thank you for that question through the mayor. Summerland believes that we have a unique opportunity, not only because we own our own electric utility, but also because of our central location in the Okanagan. And so we're a prime place for people who are looking to charge as they travel through the region. We also know that we've been successful with previous grant applications because of the economic development angle that we're able to take with some of these types of grants, and bringing people into our rural community that has struggled with economic development since the downturn in 2008 is something that we can leverage to utilize these funds to help revitalize our community, and we've been successful with that in the past. So of course we can't speak to who else is going to apply, but we feel that as a small rural community we have a good opportunity to be successful.
Good. Any other questions of staff? Okay, so could I have somebody move the recommendation there, please? Councillor Traynor? Yep. Seconded by Councillor Van Elfen. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? None, so that's carried. And now on to the second one. And again, this came out of our Committee of the Whole meeting today. This has to do with our relationship with the Penticton Indian Band. Councillor Holmes? Thank you. And Councillor Van Elfen has seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Great. Oops, I stop hitting that. And the third one is the electrical utility. I didn't explain this one very well, so Council, if you have any other questions, please direct them to Jeremy or Chris on this particular one. All right, could I have someone bring that forward then, please? Councillor Patton, seconded by Councillor Van Elfen, and all in favor? Perfect, thank you. So now on to item 10, bylaws. The first one and the second one are for the public hearings that we had earlier on tonight. 10.1 is the zoning bylaw amendment for 5010 Croyle Avenue. Council, we cannot receive any more new information, but you're certainly welcome to ask questions of Kevin for clarification. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thanks. Just for clarification, the planner mentioned that the lot size can be determined prior to dedication. I'm just wondering, and that explains the difference between why a 442 square meter lot can be in place rather for that lot 3. I'm just wondering if we could get an explanation of that, of how that works.
Yes, thank you to the mayor. Section 3.3.1 of the zoning bylaw says that where a lot is reduced in size as a result of taking for public use by the district, provincial or federal government, or public utility by dedication, expropriation, or purchase, the lot, buildings, and structures thereon are deemed to conform with the provisions of this bylaw, and the lot shall be considered to exist as it did prior to the taking. This is so that a lot that would otherwise be able to subdivide can still subdivide when portion of it has been taken for the community.
And so what is the portion being taken for the community?
There's a 2-meter dedication along the road frontage that will be road dedication. There are 14 properties that front Croyle. 6 of them are still required to give approximately 2 meters of dedication to reach the 16-meter width standard.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Traynor.
I think there was a mention of if we included the road dedication, then the property would actually be 470 square meters. Was that right?
471, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Can I ask 2 more questions? So just to clarify then the road dedication, I know that there's kind of random road dedications throughout Trout Creek, but there's no plans to develop any of them. Is that correct? Like particularly this one?
Just to clarify, Madam Mayor, through you, are we talking about the 2-meter dedication along Croyle or the road dedication to the south of
The
Croyle?
road dedication to the south.
Okay. This is not on any of the road master plans to be developed. It was taken as dedication when 5010 Croyle was created through subdivision in 1964. Whatever the subdivision development servicing bylaw guidelines were at the time, I am not sure. So there may have been an intent for it, but it does look like it was meant for a utility use.
Okay, but there's no plans? Yes.
No, Madam Mayor, there's not.
Councillor Patton, you had your hand up, and right?
Yes, thank
Yes,
you, Madam
and then Councillor Barkle. Thank you.
Through to staff, if I may. For the road to the south, could that be converted to a right-of-way and take the road designation away?
Madam Mayor, through you, if, I suppose if one of the property owners applied to purchase the road from the district, and there is infrastructure under there, we would ask that it be, it would remain an easement or a right-of-way through that land.
Okay. Councillor Barkle?
Yeah, I've sort of had the same thoughts as Councillor Patton, too. And I was wondering what the width of what they call a road is nowhere near the real width of our current road standards, is it?
Madam Mayor, through you, the label of road is a technical legal surveying term. It is really just land without title. That is communal property.
So do you know the width of that space?
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, not off the top of my head, but I can confirm it is well below the 60-meter requirement for a road.
Really, there's no chance whatsoever it'll ever be used as a road for any practical purpose. I'm quite sure.
Madam Mayor, I don't see any way that it would effectively tie into our current transportation network.
Councillor Holmes?
So, does it serve any purpose? What's underneath that, and does it serve any purpose for the municipality?
I believe it is providing services to Togud? Yeah, so it is providing services to the development to the end of Togud, which was, I believe, a manufactured home park and is now currently in the servicing stage for a multifamily development.
Thanks.
I have a couple of questions. We're talking about the road or lane or whatever it is on the south end there. Is it, I know that, I understand why the square footage is the way it is for that lot. I'm wondering if that would be used, that roadway or whatever it is, could be used as a driveway? Like, will it be used for parking?
Madam Mayor, any property has to apply for a driveway access permit, and the most logical access off of this lot would be directly off of Croyle. And they could apply to use the road, but I'm sorry, I'm not sure what our driveway access bylaw says in an instance like this.
Okay. And one other question, and this was a concern of one of the people that spoke at the public hearing, and I'm not sure that I completely understand what the concern was, but I'm going to ask. Where Coral Avenue, as it goes north, is that where it crosses Wharf, and then the Mr. Ricky's subdivision is on the other side?
Doesn't cross Wolf at all.
No, it does go up, Madam Mayor, it does go up to Meat Wharf,
Yes.
and then joins up with near Britton Road.
Right, so I know that I can't ask the person that spoke. My understanding is that the concern is that Coral Avenue will meet up with Britton and create a through road there. Is that?
I think the concern, Madam Mayor, was that there would be an access through this road through the subdivision at the south end of Togud, and then Togud would create a through road through to Croyle. I do not believe that that is a feasible use of that dedication.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions of our planner? Councillor Traynor.
With regards to Croyle Avenue, it's quite narrow. So as Trout Creek continues to develop, and perhaps more lots are subdivided in the future, at what point do the thinner roads like Croyle, are they expanded to accommodate more traffic or more parking?
Again, that would start at the subdivision process as part of, if zoning is granted on this, the subdivision servicing will be to extend the water main down the road and also to pave up to the center line and install, I believe, a curb on this road. So as subdivision happens, the road will be required to be widened by the subdividers. And then the rest will be done as it is deemed to be a capital project.
So for these 3 lots then, they would have to extend or add curbage, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. So this has had first and second reading and the public hearing. So we're now on to third reading. Is there anyone that would like to bring this recommendation forward? Councillor Holmes?
I'll move that zoning bylaw amendment 5010 Croyle Avenue, bylaw number 2019-026 be read a third time.
And seconder, Councillor Van Alphen? Any further questions of staff or discussion? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I think just, I understand why people were concerned about that the road dedication at the south end there, that it might be used for something, but I think staff's explanation reassures me that it's not really going to change anything, so I can support this application.
Anyone else? Councillor Van Alphen.
Excuse me, just for clarification, question through the planning department. At this stage of subdivision, they're going to lose that X amount of meters off their property as road dedication, but it's not going to be developed today. Like, it's not going to be curb and guttered now, it's just dedicated to the city, or is it curb and guttered?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this stage, we're not even talking about subdivision yet. This is just the zoning. After third reading, this will go to the Ministry of Transportation, and then we will hold it at third reading and ask the applicants to apply for their subdivision. At that point, a preliminary layout approval will be generated, which will outline the requirements for the subdivision. At that point, they may undertake the works required in order to register the subdivision.
Okay. Okay, ready for me to call the question then? All those in favor? Opposed? None, so that's carried. And on to public hearing 2, 10.2, zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw number 2019-027, which is for dwelling units in the CB1 zone. And I guess we'll just open this up for any further questions of our planner. This one is a bit more straightforward, I think. All right, could somebody bring that forward, please, for the third reading? Councillor Holmes?
I'll move that zoning bylaw amendment to dwelling units in CB1 zone bylaw number 2019-027 be read a third time.
Seconder? Councillor Patton? All those in favor? And none opposed, so that's carried as well. Kevin, once again, zoning bylaw amendment for farm worker housing, bylaw number 2019-030.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm going to surprise you and
you did surprise me.
Yes.
Welcome, Corey, Development Services Director.
Thank you. This is a text amendment that's coming forward after a considerable amount of research and work, and is the beginning of further amendments, certainly to our zoning bylaw and most definitely to our agriculture zones. I'm going to likely read from my notes. Once again, I warn you, I want to make sure that I hit all of the necessary points and don't stray too far from script, so I apologize. But because this is laying the framework or the groundwork for changes that you'll see coming forward in additional text amendments, I think it's really important that we cover this in sufficient detail. Everyone's clear on the whats and wherefores, if you will. So on February 22nd, 2019, the Agricultural Land Commission Act was amended and the ALR use regulation was created, including specific changes to the role of local government as approving body with respect to residential uses allowed on ALR land. ALC Bulletin 05 is provided in Attachment 1 to the Council report. Hopefully you had a chance to have a look at that. The information bulletin was very important when it was published on February 25th, revised on February 26th, and then again on May 8th, 2019. Clearly it kept us guessing. The changes highlight the need to update our zoning bylaw with respect to the types of residences permitted in the agricultural zones. This is especially important because a number of farms in Summerland have expressed a desire to include temporary farm worker housing in their operations, most particularly Mountain View growers who have plans for additional temporary farm worker housing to that already exists on Washington Avenue. ALC Information Bulletin 5 outlines, as I say, the changes in much more detail. So I'd encourage you, if you're curious, to have a look there. New size, setting, and use requirements that apply to residential structures in the ALR need to be reflected in the zoning regulations. Limitations on the size of a single detached dwelling are not currently contained within the district's bylaw, but as you know, there's been a considerable amount of press given to this, this change in the Act, given some of the experiences elsewhere in the province. While the ALC regulations had previously contained provisions facilitating construction of additional dwellings for farm help, manufactured homes for immediate family members, accommodation above an existing farm building, or a second single-family dwelling in some parts of the province, these provisions no longer exist. There is some protection for pre-existing structures of these kinds, and the Commission may approve an application for an additional residence if it's proven necessary for farm help. As such, the zoning bylaw should make some provision for this type of use. Two distinct types of farm worker housing needs to be addressed. The first takes the form of an additional single detached dwelling for farm help to house full-time employees, and the second takes the form of a bunk house style dwelling for temporary farm help, generally associated with federal temporary worker programs. The A1 and A2 zones currently contain regulations regarding both of these types of housing. However, they should be updated to reflect the current legislation, best practices, and consistent language. When contacted in early April, staff at both the Minister of Agriculture and the Agricultural Land Commission indicated that central Okanagan communities were leading edge due to their need for seasonal labor. The most recent bylaw changes adopted in Kelowna and West Kelowna reflect the outcome of the RDCO Regional Planning Lab, a forum for discussion, relationship building, and space to work towards solutions to the region's greatest challenges. This was one of the first projects considered in 2018 in the spring bulletin provided by the RDCO to its member municipalities. It outlined the context for the regional collaboration process and gave a little bit of a hint of what might be possible going forward. So while the ALC Act changes impact decision-making ability of local government, the bylaw standards developed in the Planning Lab remain reflective of the most current best practices as identified by the provincial agencies. The District of Summerland has the opportunity to leverage the learning of the Central Region to inform our response to the challenge that is temporary farm worker housing. Staff have conducted a thorough review of the recommended regulations, existing bylaws, and considered the Summerland context in presenting proposed bylaw amendments for Council's consideration. Several general regulations pertaining to temporary farm worker housing are common, and they include those listed here. Farm worker housing should only be considered where obviously agriculture is the principal use on the parcel, a minimum parcel size is satisfied, the applicant demonstrates and justifies the need for additional farm residence on a property, and a statutory declaration is filed stating that a building will only be used for farm help during a specified period of time. Now that period of time depends whether it's full-time farm help or temporary farm help. It seems reasonable that there be some correlation between the number of temporary farm workers housed and the number required to support the individual farm operation as well. The City of Kelowna has established a maximum for the number of temporary farm workers that can be housed on the basis of defined geographical areas and parcel size. The City of West Kelowna has restricted the gross floor area and number of dwellings for farm workers based on minimum lot sizes. West Kelowna also provides for a broader range of housing options, but limits the occupancy to no more than 10 months in one calendar year for permanent structures or mobile homes, and no more than 8 months for tents and recreational vehicles. We're not going to go into the tents or recreational vehicles. We took that under advisement. The limitations proposed for Summerland are very generous, given the potential scale of accommodations that may be required to support like local agricultural production. In fact, Mountain View Growers indicated that they anticipate housing up to 150 farm workers to support their farm unit, which is operated on 11 separate titled parcels. So just to give you some context. So the suggested general regulations include that the lot or farm unit must have farm status, that the need is demonstrated through the following: a contract with the federal government to obtain workers through a migrant worker program, farm receipts, previous employment records, and a farm plan prepared by a professional agrologist. Dwellings should be located on the lot within the same farm unit that generates the need for temporary farm workers. Hence why I mentioned that multiple number of parcels may be contained within a single farm unit. Dwellings must be connected to the sewer system or onto a septic system that is approved by a registered on-site wastewater practitioner. Obviously, that's for environmental protection reasons. Just as we honor OBWB's minimum lot size recommendations where you have on-site septic disposal, similarly, we want to make sure that the land can support the amount of sewage that would be produced by that more, I guess, dense use of the land. So these are the suggested general regulations. So that's what we have included in the draft for your consideration. We have been to the Agricultural Advisory Committee and the Agricultural Planning Commission and introduced any comments into the text of the bylaw themselves as was required. We did catch one typo, which was great, so I think it's now ready to go forward for further public comment. So there are some new terms that are being introduced in the bylaw. I'm not going to go over them in detail here, but just for your reference, the definition for farm unit will now be included in the zoning bylaw. Full-time farm worker housing will be defined slightly differently than it has been before. Temporary farm worker accommodation, temporary farm workers, and temporary farm worker housing home plate are also terms that will now be defined in the bylaw itself. That concludes my comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Corey. Council, do you have questions of Development Services? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to maybe get a better explanation of what a farm unit is. So it's multiple parcels used by the same farmer to produce the same crop, basically.
Or a selection of crops, perhaps. Madam Mayor, yes, a farm unit can be multiple pieces of land. Within our jurisdiction, we'll be just looking at the parcels that are owned and operated within the District of Summerland as part of the farm unit, though it is plausible that a single farm operation, whether it has one or many crops, could own and operate parcels in other jurisdictions, but it's very difficult to regulate across jurisdictional boundaries, so we'll be looking at just those parcels located within our boundaries.
Okay, and follow up. And do those parcels have to be adjoining, or they could be all over the place?
They do not need to be adjoining, they can be dispersed, yes.
Okay, okay, follow up again. So they'll be allowed based on what their housing will be based on what their farm unit is, rather than the parcel.
Correct.
So if I just follow that, so they're allowed to build a bunker-style house or whatever on one parcel, but taking into account the whole farm unit. Now, what happens if some of those parcels are leased and the size of their farm unit changes?
There is no problem with that. The tenure, the form of tenure is not at issue. It can be consider owned or leased land. And we do recognize that a farm unit as a business will perhaps change over time. Some years include one piece of land and some years another, as long as overall the need remains unchanged in balance, then we would consider that in compliance. So we're trying to provide some flexibility and not get into the matter of ownership or tenure.
Councillor Patton?
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. To staff, if I may. If we move forward, how does this affect Mountain View growers as far as regulation when they're talking they want to bring on, or they could have 150 farm workers? We know they do in excess of 1 million seedlings. I think it well exceeds 1 million seedlings a year. How regulatory is this going to be to inhibit their growth?
In fact, this is simply providing the foundation for the broader community and reflecting what we consider industry best practices. Mountain View growers will require a very specific or site-specific solution simply because they do have a mix of parcels of various sizes, of various classifications, so we will have to look at it more specifically with respect to their operations. But this was intended to give a baseline from which to then determine whether we look at some variance of the existing zoning regulations, or whether it's appropriate to look for a site-specific zoning classification for their operation. I've been trying to research similar operations elsewhere in the province. Unfortunately, there aren't that many of them, and they haven't. There hasn't been sort of a consensus on how the solution should be found. So we felt if we laid the foundational work in terms of what our baseline is, that we would be in a better position then to survey the options from that location. So it wasn't intended to specifically address them, but to facilitate moving forward with the process in general, because there are other operations interested as well.
Thank you.
I have a question. Depending on what you're growing, there might be quite a variance between one farm and another on harvesting time and when you need the bulk of your temporary foreign workers. And I don't know if this is allowed through the Agricultural Land Commission or if it's being proposed here, but if you have a product that's harvested, say, in the first half of the summer, or you're finished before the summer is finished, and you have to have farm worker housing for your workers, but you don't need them for another time, say later in the year, are you able to continue housing those farm workers to save another operation from having to lose part of their agricultural land to farm worker housing? Like, can you provide the accommodation, because you're not really needing it for your workers, to another operator at a different time of the year when you're not using it?
Madam Mayor, the zoning bylaw doesn't contemplate the kinds of cooperative relationships that might exist between farm operators, and there may be a role for a coordinating organization in the community, though we don't see that as our role here. Certainly, we're not attempting to preclude that and would welcome those types of opportunities, or we would like to facilitate those kinds of opportunities. And when we talk about demonstrating a need for that farm worker housing, demonstrating how even multiple farm units work together through formalized relationships, not informal relationships, because that's the one thing, if I might say, in I won't say how long practicing planning, the pendulum has swung considerably from one extreme to the other in regulating housing on agricultural land. And so when I first started in planning, it was very much like what is being proposed by the commission now. It was quite restricted, and it became looser and looser, and local governments were given more and more opportunity to entertain a wider variety of housing options on agricultural parcels. And unfortunately, when you give some folks an inch, they take a mile, and so now the commission is reeling everything back in, and the pendulum is coming back, and so we are getting back to that more restrictive environment again. It's certainly not our intention to make it more so, but to facilitate a broader number of options in a fair and equitable manner with the direction that we've been given.
Councillor Barkwell.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I was reading the zoning bylaw as you've got it written, and I note that for some items that you remove, you say that for example, the definition of dwelling additional for farm help as follows, and then you quote the former bylaw be deleted and replaced with the following. But for farm home plate, you just say farm home plate be deleted and replaced with the following. So I was wondering what the definition of farm home plate used to be. Didn't it used to have a specific size to it?
It's possible. Let's just see. Kevin has managed, as always, to rescue me. Farm home plate in the current bylaw means the portion of a lot that includes a farm residence and accessory buildings and structures related to the residential usage. That is the existing
excluding
definition.
temporary farm worker farm home plate. Okay, so excluding temporary farm worker housing is what the new one says.
Right, there's a slight modification.
So you're not going to make that fit on the temporary farm worker housing? Isn't going to be required to be on the farm home plate anymore?
Correct.
Yeah. Could
Correct.
be another corner of the property?
Those are all things that we'll have to talk about through policy as a subsequent step. Obviously, the commission and the ministry would be far happier if all of those residential uses are contiguous and provide as little interruption to the agricultural activity as absolutely possible. But often there is on a farm unit a portion of land or portions of land that are less useful for agricultural production, so sometimes it makes sense for it to be discontinuous. So due to topography, those kinds of things. So we
Summerland, we're faced that situation. You could have a corner of the property that's not very usable, but would be a great spot, and if you're confined to that farm plate, then you're limiting yourself. Yeah.
Correct. And so I have seen in many communities that I've worked, topography has been an issue, and that's a way to effectively provide for the residential use without interrupting. So,
Thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Traynor?
Further to Councillor Barkwell's comment, the housing, though, for full-time farm worker does have to be on the home plate. Is that correct?
Because that's a permanent structure.
Okay. Has that always been in the way, or?
I think that was always the intention, if not explicitly said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that one's limited to 110?
Correct.
Okay.
Councillor Barkwell?
Will there be, if there's a situation where the farm home plate doesn't quite fit or whatever, buildings and this and that, to apply for a variance to have full-time farm worker accommodation, something other than this farm home plate of 110 square meters?
There's always an opportunity to request variance to the zoning bylaw as long as it doesn't impact use or density. So the use is already provided for, so that wouldn't be offensive to that provision of the Local Government Act.
All right, thanks.
Following up on Councillor Barco's question, if there is a variance requested for that example that he gave, it didn't fit on the farm plate, would that not have to go through the Agricultural Land Commission?
I will have to check on that. It's likely that you would need, in any case, an application for a non-adhering residential use, because that is part of the new ALC regulations that were introduced this year. So that is the difference, is there's two components. You're absolutely correct. The Agricultural Land Commission has taken that authority back. It used for a while there. We could operate as municipalities independently. They gave us some room to move. Now, applicants are required to go through the formal application process, but we need to have our zoning ready to support the possible outcomes.
And then the variance process would be the same as a typical variance?
Yes. Yes.
Madam Mayor, if I may, a variance to the farm home plate size is unlikely, because when a full-time farm accommodation is permitted and constructed on a lot, the zoning bylaw already allows for an increase of the farm home plate size.
Okay.
Could you explain that again?
Yeah, just a moment here.
So the scenario that Councillor Bark brought up, we wouldn't have to worry about that particular scenario?
So on a typical A1 lot, the farm home plate is designated as 905 square meters. That farm home plate size is increased to 1,500 square meters where there is an additional dwelling for farm help.
So any variance would have to be considered if it went beyond that amount.
1,500, yeah. Okay, any other questions? I will ask somebody to bring forward the resolution to read it the first and second time, and then we'll have a public hearing in October or sometime. Councillor, were you going to do that, Councillor Van Alphen?
Certainly, Madam Mayor.
All right. You look like you were getting ready.
That zoning bylaw amendment, farm worker housing bylaw number 2019-030 be introduced and read a first and second time, and that the public hearing be held to receive public feedback on zoning amendment farm worker housing bylaw number 2019-030.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Barkwell? Any other questions or further discussion? Okay, all in favor? And none opposed? Okay, that's that one. 10.4, zoning bylaw amendment for height and grade, bylaw number 2019-031. And I'm not sure who's speaking to this one. Okay.
It's me again. Just
Thank
thought I'd give you a
Mr.
break.
Planner?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a zoning bylaw text amendment to address height and grade within the zoning bylaw. The current interpretation of the measurement of height has created problems, especially on historical lots that were created with a 30% or greater slope. The proposed amendment is to ensure that the calculation of height is simplified and easier to understand, and that lot grading is more closely monitored in order to holistically consider adjacent lots grading when siting a building. To start off, staff recommend to amend the definition of grade to where it is against the building and leave the determination of natural or finished grade to another definition in this process. The current definition of grade speaks to natural or finished grade. The proposed definition of grade just speaks to the ground where it meets the building. Further, the current bylaw defines finished grade, which implies that fill is placed on a lot to raise the grade or removed from a lot to lower it. However, bless you, doesn't imply that any approval is required for the manipulation of grade, nor does it take into account the grades of adjacent parcels. This has created some issues in town where retaining walls have been required in order to box in grade on a lot in order to meet the specific wording of the definition. However, this naturally will impact the grading viability of any of the adjacent lots. Staff are proposing to delete finished grade and implement approved grade, which would require a grading plan for any manipulation of natural grade, with the exception of placement of fill material to raise the lot up to the natural grade elevation of an adjacent lot. A grading plan would be required to be completed by a BC Land Surveyor and indicate existing grades and proposed finished grades, which will also be required to be shown on building plans and site plans. The district currently has 2 building grade definitions. The average building grade is used to determine the delineation between the first story and the basement, and building grade is the lowest average of the 2 lowest points on a wall face, which ends up being generally the lowest point on the building. We are proposing to do away completely with these somewhat competing definitions and simplify grade to average grade, being the average point of the structure as measured from the outermost corners of the walls. This will solve some issues that can occur when upon excavation, the expected material to tie the foundation into is further down than previously determined. For every additional millimeter under the old definition, the house would be deemed to increase in height. This definition, the proposed definition, establishes a buffer which would not require a council variance for an error of circumstance, adding time and money to a project to legitimize a now overheight house, even though the house is exactly the same. It is the grade that has changed. You may remember the variance back in March to a property at Sedona Heights. This was something that unfortunately happened there. Further, this is the current definition of height, which I find to be a little obtuse. Staff proposed a simple definition that goes to the top of a flat roof and averages from sloped roofs. Finally, I have been promising to address rooftop patios as they are currently not considered under the current definitions. The regulation would explicitly require that the height of the structure be measured to the top of any guardrail, privacy wall, or other appurtenances, I can never say that, associated with the patio. These are items under section 4.3.1 that would still remain exempt from the height calculation. Staff are recommending that the bylaw 2019-031 be given first and second reading and that a public hearing be scheduled for October 14th, 2019. Thank you.
Councillor Barkwell.
Seems all rather technical, and I'm sure that we didn't need to reinvent the wheel. Is this something that has worked in other communities, I presume?
Yes, most communities do measure from average grade. Penticton does do it the way we currently do it, which is from the lowest point. And the definition of approved grade came from the Kelowna bylaw.
Okay. And how about the RDOS? I know they've had some issues and discussions lengthy.
RDOS does measure from average grade, Madam Mayor. However, they do have a distinction between finished and natural, whichever one is lower. And I'm sorry, I seem to have forgotten the rest of their requirements. But they did also put into place regulations around retaining walls the current regulation of building code is that a retaining wall is considered to be the same wall even if it's tiered, if it's within a 1-to-1 ratio, and they changed that to a 2-to-1 ratio within the zoning bylaw to prevent that stacking of grade. we're proposing this option because it is the simplest for the building community and planning staff to calculate the height in a consistent manner.
Councillor Holmes?
I just want to ask about the opportunities, however I pronounce that word, 'cause I can't read it. So rooftop patios, so I guess my question is, what about non-permanent structures like pergolas and shade shelters and that sort of thing? I mean, somebody could build something that's completely within the regulations, then all of a sudden something really big pops up on top of that roof, which is just temporary, but it's annoying.
Okay, so I think this goes back to our conversation that we had when we were talking about a variance, which was also another reason that this text amendment is coming forward. As you know, we've had many discussions on this topic. Anything that isn't part of the structure wouldn't not be contemplated by the zoning bylaw. Umbrellas, fabric covers, that kind of thing. As soon as it became a structural piece affixed to the building, then it would be subject to the height requirements under the zoning bylaw. So a pergola of the type that was shown on the plans on our most recent variance application, where there was a rooftop deck, would have to have been calculated within the height of the building, because it was permanent and attached to the building. It wasn't an umbrella. So it becomes an issue of where do you draw the line. Certainly what is enforceable are the things that we look at the time of building permit, and we won't be regulating those other types of temporary appurtenances.
Very good.
Councillor Patton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, in regards to the approved grade, the grading elevation is identified in the lot grading plan. So I can only assume at time of subdivision through your lot grading plan that you are going to, or that we will be looking at minimum basement elevations, because that is the only way that you'll be able to determine grade is by the minimum basement elevation. So we're going that way.
Madam Mayor, again, we had hoped that by this point we would have reviewed in more detail some of the development application requirements, but it has been my experience in the last year here as the subdivision approving officer that most of the issues that have arisen have been from the matter of grade not being addressed perhaps as fully as we might otherwise expect at the time of subdivision, and that has given rise to problems some 10, 15 years later, and hence we have had several discussions at the council table here in the last year, all because grade was not dealt with as thoroughly as it might have been. So certainly as the approving officer, I would expect us to be dealing with grade in a far more thorough fashion in the future, the details of which will be fleshed out in the development approval procedures bylaw and the subdivision development servicing bylaw when it comes forward in its renewed format.
If I may. So as we move forward, if we were to change this bylaw, and you're talking in regards to approved grade, where are you going to be getting that geodetic elevation? Is it going to be an existing geodetic elevation, or is like, I apologize, it's a little fuzzy on how we determine.
We would take natural grade.
Natural grades?
Yes. Yeah, keeping, again, in the theme of keeping it simple.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Geodetic.
Dictionary here.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Could I ask someone to bring forward that resolution, please? Councillor Barkle.
Since that side of the table was unwilling, I'll bring it forward as written in the agenda.
So that's first and second reading, and that we have a public hearing on October the 14th. Seconder, Councillor Van Alphen. Any further discussion or questions of staff? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's carried. Okay. Next, we're on to 11, Section 11, Business Items, 11.1, Development Permit with a Variance in the Downtown Development Permit Area for 13212 Henry Avenue. I just want to make it clear that there will be the opportunity for public to comment, but only in relation to the variance. And is it Kevin that's speaking to this? Kevin will make it quite clear, and I will ask for your assistance in making sure that we adhere to that. Thank you. So if you could introduce this for us, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. DP 19-009 has been submitted to address a form and character downtown development permit for a new construction at 13212 Henry Avenue, and to consider a variance to the parking requirements. This is a rendering of the proposed improvements in relation to the existing streetscape. And this will be the facade facing the laneway. The color palette will be predominantly varying shades of brown and taupe with black highlights and an aluminum feature on the front. It's designed to mimic the look of an old washboard. The materials selected are durable and weather resistant and include a galvanized aluminum and aged timber feature and hardy plank panels for the siding. The applicant is proposing planters along the frontage within the property lines in order to delineate potential seating areas for customers of the commercial units. There are proposed sconces on the frontage that will be LED as well. There is a rather tight parking area in the back, so there is a proposed variance to allow for 5 small car parking stalls. Generally, only 25% of parking stalls are permitted to be small car, which would be about 2 on this lot. The applicant is asking for 5 small car stalls, which are 4.9 meters by 2.5 meters long, and they will put in 1 large parallel parking stall, which will have to be 7 meters long by 2.6 meters wide. 6 parking stalls are required for the commercial space, and there is a proposal to pay $12,000 cash in lieu as permitted under Section 6.4 of the bylaw. This proposal contains 6 dwelling units and 4 commercial retail units. Staff are recommending that DP 009 be approved.
Thank you. So the development variance permit is for the parking, adjusting the parking, right?
That is correct.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the development variance piece of this application? Beginning with a proponent if that, okay. So George, you'd like to speak to that as the agent? Thank you.
Hi, I'm George Giannotti. I'm acting as the agent and also the designer of the building for the owners, Rick and Lori Leitner, are here. That have patiently waited through this. I think it's probably one of their first council meetings in town here. They're fairly new to the community, and they're willing to step up and invest in the community as well. And they felt since the closing of the laundromat that there was a great need to replace that use in this town. One of the main features of the laundromat facility as well is they're putting in public showers, so that would hopefully help a lot of the transient people in the community to wash their clothes and wash themselves in a convenient location. We're hoping also with the commercial space in the rest of the building on the bottom floor, there's approximately 4,000 square feet per floor, is to facilitate maybe a small soup and sandwich or convenient outlet.
I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment. Just like the rest of the people in the gallery and the council ourselves, we need to speak only to the development variance permit, so specifically about the parking.
All right, so
Thank you.
the reason the parking is as such is that in order to facilitate a better atmosphere in the commercial end of it, we've pushed the entire building back 7 feet from the sidewalk to increase the area there for tables, chairs, and hopefully draw, again, a small little eatery in that corner. So that squished the parking area into a tighter location. There's been discussions about reducing the size of the building, but then you're getting into the economics of the building being feasible if in this, in a smaller space. Therefore, we've allowed or worked with planning to ensure that at least we have one residential parking for every suite. The majority of the cars that we see on the streets these days are smaller or mid-sized cars, so that will, those parking stalls will allow for those vehicles to be in there in that location. Other than that, because, and you have to understand too, there's, these are 3 lots that were amalgamated to build this building, but even in those 3 25-foot lots, configuration of the parking is such that it's not feasible to do any other route, other than backing out onto the lane, and the city bylaws do not allow parking stalls to be backing out into laneways. And that's the reason for the variance.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Buckwell.
Yes, and it is related to the parking stalls and such.
Thank you.
I was wondering whether it couldn't be moved forward to give more space for parking. You answered that one already. But how much space is there between buildings that would give more space if you were to redesign it that way? Between that building and the neighbors?
It's zero lot.
Zero lot line, okay.
We are building, we actually, we're negotiating with the church for a 9-inch variance. There was some encroachment, so we're dealing with 9 inches, so we're building to that 49-foot space.
Okay, thanks.
That's the width of the building.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just wondering if the, if the plan for the apartments will those be rental units? And no, there's a lot, follow my logic here.
We can talk.
And so how do you ensure the tenants of those units will have small cars? I mean, what if somebody with a big stonking 4x4 truck rents the apartment? Or buys the apartment if it's a condo?
Through the mayor, I'm not sure if I can answer that specifically, but when someone comes to rent the building, they will be shown the parking facilities, their stall, in relationship to their suite, and also storage spaces. So if they can't fit their vehicles in those spaces, I would imagine they probably wouldn't want to rent the units. I'm not sure, I just surmise.
I have a question of staff. Could you point out, I see I'm trying to figure that. Oh, thank you. That helps a lot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a regular sized one. That's the large one, right?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you, that helps a lot. Any other questions of staff? All right, thank you, George. Would anyone else care to speak on this application before us, the development variance permit? Nope. Okay. Is there someone that would like to bring this forward then? Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to bring it forward as presented.
All right. Seconded by Councillor Patton. And any further discussion on this? Nope. Okay, so we are voting on the variance permit, subject to receipt of payment in lieu for parking. All those in favor? Any opposed? No, that's carried then. Thank you. 11.2. Oh, this is mixed up from what I had before. 11.2 is it the downtown forming character number, right? Development permit for downtown forming character for 13220 Victoria Road North.
Thank you, Madam.
I don't know if is that you again, Kevin?
It is, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Best to just assume.
You're right.
Yes, so DP 19-016 has been submitted to address a form and character downtown development permit for new construction at 13220 Victoria Road North. The proposed structure is an expanded brewing and storage facility for the recently established brewery located at this site. The color palette will be Winchester Sage with white highlights. And the structure is located at the rear of the existing building, so along the laneway, and will be clad in hardy board siding of the same color. 6 parking stalls will be located on the site and angled to complement the existing angled parking on the other side of the lane. The proposal is short 4 parking spaces, which has already been collected as payment in lieu to the parking reserve fund. This is the existing streetscape without the proposed building. This is the critterade. You will notice that there's a large building behind the critterade that does not detract from the existing streetscape. The critterade building is taller than the proposed brewery building will be. The development generally meets the guidelines for the downtown form and character, design guidelines in the official community plan, and staff recommends that DP 19-016 be approved.
Thank you. Is that Winchester Sage right there?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Questions of staff, council? Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I may ask a question, the parking for this seems that they back into the lane. We just heard from Mr. Giannotti in the parking for the washboard that said that it was, that the backing into the lane wasn't permitted.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That is why it is part of this development permit, so that it can be presented to council as an option to be allowed to back on the lane. It is due to the angled parking on the other side of the lane. Over on the west side of the lane, there is other angled parking. I suppose it was a common sense solution to what we have as tight parking in our downtown area that is presented to council for consideration.
Thank you.
And just as a follow-up to that, there was one stall on the other site plan that was backing out onto the lane due to the tightness of the lot. Staff would not bring forward a proposal to back out onto one of the main roads, for example.
That lane is single lane, is one-way traffic.
Correct.
Which helps alleviate some of that concern, right? Any other questions? Okay, would someone like to, oh, Councillor Trainer.
I just wanted to confirm, that back building will be one story? Is that right?
It is one story. There is a portion of it that will be raised a little bit higher for machinery, but it is proposed as one story.
Okay.
Question?
If no one has any further questions, I'll bring it forward.
Thank you. That the development permit application with the facade improvements and new construction be approved?
Yeah.
Okay, and seconder? Councillor Holmes? Any further discussion? All those in favor? And none opposed, so that's carried. Okay, on to 11.3. This is for you, I think, Acting Corporate Officer. Appointment of Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee Alternate Council Representative.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. This resolution is coming forward as a housekeeping item. One of our councillors that would like to serve as the alternate council representative, unfortunately was not here during the meeting where that decision was made, and has since come forward with his desire to be considered on that committee. So this resolution is before us today to consider that.
Thank you. Could I have, okay, Councillor Trainer.
So do we have to remove Councillor Holmes as the alternate? Is that how that works?
Thank you. No, we don't. This resolution will automatically overwrite the last one.
Oh, okay.
So I will be removed. Yeah.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, he's good with that. You'll bring that forward then?
Yeah, I'll bring forward that Councillor Marty Van Elpen be appointed as the alternate to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee.
Thank you. So he's your backup plan?
Yes.
And seconded by Councillor Patton. All those in favor? Okay, so that's done. Oh, sorry.
Just on the list of committee appointments that's included here, I'm wondering if we should also have on the external bodies, the Summerland Secondary School Youth Council. I don't see it on here. That Councillor Trainer and I are the reps. We were appointed by council to be the representatives on that. I'm just wondering if it should be on this, on the master list here.
Yes, we'll have that amended right away.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, hurry.
Oh, I see what he's talking about. Okay, so on to 11.4. Is David still awake over there? Financial results as of June the 30th, 2019.
11.4.
Oh,
You have a
it
draft
has changed.
version.
Oh, sorry. I should have printed off another one, is what I should have done. Sorry, David. Sorry to wake you up over there. 11.4 is Clean BC Plastics Action Plan, District of Summerland response. Tammy and Candace. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As noted in your package, the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy has requested feedback on its new policy opportunities and proposed amendments to the recycling regulation of the Environmental Management Act in order to address plastic waste. Stakeholders are invited to submit feedback in written form and/or through an online survey, and the deadline for doing so has been extended until September 30th. Staff are proposing that the District of Summerland submit a response directly from the district, and also that we support and join the joint submission from the districts of Squamish and Tofino in response to the proposed amendments of the Environmental Management Act. In your package, you'll note that we've suggested some of the high-level principles for which we would use to draft the District of Summerland's direct response and any survey responses that we also submit. and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about that proposed response. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy and Candace. Questions of this proposed resolution? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thanks. This came up at the RDOS on Thursday as well, and one of the things that came up there too, and I think we should kind of stress it ourselves, is that that it's our position that this is a federal or a provincial government responsibility. It's not a municipal responsibility, and we need to be wary that there's a whole lot of downloading that comes as a result of this, and ends up being us being responsible to deal with it, anything that the province comes up with without any funding to follow. So I think that it's important to stress that, and the more municipalities can stress that, probably the better. So.
I would add to that too, just one moment. It's my understanding, and maybe you can correct me here, I think it might even be in your minutes, that this survey is open to the general public as well. So you can go onto the Clean BC website and give your comments on this proposal for the plastics. Councillor Barkwell.
Since I didn't see a question in those two comments, I'll add my comment at this time. I could cite examples where the reduction of waste really begins at the manufacturer's end, and to substitute recyclable materials or to use less packaging to begin with. And I won't bore you with the examples, but I'd like to see us try to emphasize that, to rather than deal with it at our end or download it to us or anything, that it doesn't even start. And that is one of the options, and that I've done that online survey. I urge everybody else to, and add our voices and try and emphasize that aspect of things, because we can't do anything about it. It's a federal and provincial, and even more so federal regulations that would apply.
Thank you for your comment. Councillor Traynor.
If nobody has any further questions, I'll bring it forward and then we can discuss more.
Okay.
Do you have any questions? No?
Any more questions?
So I'll bring forward that staff be directed to submit a response on behalf of the District of Summerland to the Province of British Columbia's Clean BC Plastics Action Plan.
Seconder, Councillor Van Elfen. Any more discussion? Oh, Councillor Tammy.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, thank you. Just for clarification, is Council also entertaining the second motion for us to join the joint submission?
Yes. Okay. Sorry, that wasn't in the
oh, sorry.
on the
Okay.
left-hand
that's
column.
right.
But yes, I meant to
You're
add
right.
both of them.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Yes. So you're okay with that, seconding that second part? Okay. If there are no, Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, just to be clear, if we move forward with this resolution, we're not taking on anything to do with the regulation, with enforcement, with changing out at our landfill. This is basically, we're putting it back to the province, that it is their responsibility. Am I correct in that?
Yes, Madam Mayor, through to you. Sorry. Yes, Madam Mayor, through to you. At this point, we are just doing a response letter from the district as to what we would like to see as far as their changes go. One of the top items that we will be addressing is that we do see this as a provincial and federal initiation, and that it's something that should not be pushed down onto the local governments, that we should be able to subsidize whatever their decisions are to make it suitable for our community, but that the majority of the work and everything, the financial burden, the resource burden should be borne on their end, including stepping up with the educational process that would be required. But at this point, we can't say what would come out of this because they haven't moved forward with anything. It's just, this is what we're putting as our response, is the recommendation from the district.
Thank you.
Good question. Councillor Trainer?
I think that the letter from Squamish, was it, and Tofino was really well-written and covered some really important points. I think it's really important that we emphasize not recycling plastic so much, but reducing it and finding ways to not use plastic anymore. And I think that that will be a really big component of consumer education. And then I also like that we're submitting our own response, and I think that you tailored it really well with the first point being that we shouldn't have to bear the majority of the costs. So I think we're well covered in both of these things.
Good. Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, and I'd just like to echo what Councillor Bartwell said earlier. The survey, it's amazingly well laid out, and it's really simple to use. It's I wonder who they got to do that survey, because it looks great and it's really easy. I forwarded on to the youth council at the secondary school, because I know something they're really interested in, and so I encourage everybody to just go online and do that survey. It doesn't take very long at all, and it's really good.
So the website is cleanbc.gov.bc.ca/plastics. Okay. And that's in this little note that's on the side table. Okay, I'll bring this forward for, call the question on what's on the table. All those in favor? And none opposed, so that's carried. I'm going to look at your notes now. So, 11.5, thank you for your patience, is the Riga Festival confirmation of support. And Angelique, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report very quickly summarizes that for the last number of years, we have come up with the same problem. We have at the District of Summerland a granting cycle which is applied for in the fall and disseminated in the spring. And the Riga Festival, which, as you heard earlier, has been growing for the last 4 years from the Marginal Arts Festival to what is now the Riga Festival. They have to submit this funding application before the district has actually allocated funding to the society. In the past, what staff has done is recognizing that council has indicated a strong level of support for this festival. Staff has earmarked, essentially as a placeholder, funding out of the economic development budget to cover the cost of the confirmation as it's laid out. And then when the grant and aid dollars were allocated, then actually given the Riga Festival its cash out of the grant and aid budget. So staff is recommending a similar approach in order to be able to permit this support, but it's also recognized that council should know that this is happening. The economic development budget has in the past not really been used that much, but there's been a lot more use over recent years. And it is included now a new substantial hit with the $15,000 a year fee-for-service banner program that's underway. So the budget will be used more in the coming years. I think the Riga Festival may have something they'd like to say as well.
Is that okay?
If you would like to.
Thank you. It's
okay. Yes, please,
okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Angelique. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council, and staff. I'll just say thank you, Madam Mayor, Council, and staff. I'll be very brief. Recently, I discovered a new study that people who attend cultural events are happier with their lives than people who don't. So I'd just like to make you all happy by keeping this very brief tonight. But just to follow up on what Peter said earlier and what Angelique has said, it's this particular grant, the Canadian Heritage Grant, Building Communities Through Festivals, is unique we're the only festival that qualifies in Summerland for this grant for a number of different reasons. And it's specifically to encourage the organizers of the festival to include the community as much as possible. And we've been able to do that using this grant, but by giving honoraria to people who've participated, local artists. It's encouraged us, in fact forced us, but happily, to engage local artists in the performances we've had. We have 54 volunteers who spent over 1,500 hours working on the festival each year. So it's a lot of community support, and in that vein, I'd like to, you've already met Peter, I'd like to also introduce two other members of our board of directors, Jen Shoemaker and Bonnie Nesbitt, who are our secretary and our treasurer, and thank you for being here tonight. Anyway, because of the particular characteristics, as Angelique said, we are forced to actually put in our deadline for this application at the end of this month for next August's festival. So it's awkward, and they require that we show that there is tangible community support in the form of district support, and that's why we're asking for this today. And you have all the other details, I think, in your paperwork. So that's all I'll say right now.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions of either Angelique or David, if there's questions about the finance side of things? Okay, I have a question. It shows the amounts of $5,000 cash and $23.22 in-kind contribution. I'm just wondering, I know that from what I've heard from Angelique, the $5,000, is it advanced, say, I'm not sure the correct term, from the Economic Development Fund, and then they apply and it's just kind of reallocated or topped up again? I understand the difference in timing and why they have to come forward for this. I'm just wondering about the process.
So the process itself, and maybe I'll give some historical background on this one. When the Riga Festival first put in a grant and aid application about 2 years ago, I believe they've been received funding for 2 years. The decision was made by council to provide them funding through the Economic Development Fund or cost center, as opposed to the grant and aid process itself. It was looked at to be an economic driver, and that's why the funding was determined to come out of that first year. Okay. Subsequently, the Riga Festival in 2018 or 19, I guess, put in an application through the grant and aid process, and they were looked upon against all of the other candidates and all of the other grant and aid applications, and council made a decision from that perspective. So looking at the economic development budget itself, that was in my understanding, it was a 1 year funding opportunity from that ECDEV fund. And then moving forward, it was to be through the grant and aid process itself. So our grant and aid process is, we receive applications, we cut off applications, I believe it's October 31st. I'll actually have to confirm that. October 31st, thank you. And then what staff does is we compile all those applications. Angelique puts together a summary. A report then goes to council, and historically, the first January, February of the following year, council receives a report and deliberates and determines which organizations are to receive funding. So that's kind of our process right now. We would like to move that process up, and I will be having conversations with our CAO and in terms of the entire budget process itself, and as this is part of that, so.
So just for clarification, though, because we're not in the grant application time frame right now, the $5,000, never mind the in-kind, the $5,000 will come out of the Economic Development Fund, and it's just a temporary thing? And then they apply for a grant, or how does that work?
Just to be clear, this is a letter that is a confirmation of support, so no money will actually change hands. All that is being asked for is the federal government is asking this council to commit to funding Riga Festival in that amount. So
Okay,
really,
got it.
It's really what it works out to is a philosophical question as to whether you think it's appropriate to do so prior to the actual grant and aid process beginning, or whether you accept that this should come out of an economic development fund and or both. Really, I mean, that's what's happened in the past, is it's been a bit of a blend.
Okay, so that's how the economic development piece got.
But no actual money will be required.
It's just to show that we support the initiative and
in
their
the amount
application.
that's requested.
Right, okay.
That's
thank you.
where there's a rub. There is an amount, a specific amount requested.
Right, okay. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. One thing we have kind of talked about in the past is the idea of having a festival budget, where we have the Riga Festival, the Fall Fair, and Action Fest and Light Up and everything out of a budget, because some of the fundings for all these things aren't really that transparent, and people don't really know where the money comes from, and they're not really grant and aids, and you could argue yes or no that they're economic development. So I think that's something we ought to have. Obviously not tonight. It's a discussion that I think we should have at some point. It's before budget, because if we're going to support all these events, and they're incredible events, then I think we should have a place in the budget for them.
All right, any other questions of staff, or could I have someone bring forward the resolution, please? Councillor Patton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That staff be directed to complete the confirmation of support from municipal government or equivalent authority to Canadian Heritage for the Riga Festival, and that the contribution amounts match the January 24th, 2018 submission.
No. So if you could read the "and that" from the staff recommendation, it's different from what we have on the left side of our agenda. The amounts of 5,000 cash, that's what you want?
Yes,
Oh, it's
and
in
the
the
amounts
report.
of $5,000 cash.
Okay.
So the first part is correct.
Okay.
Second part,
Okay. Do you want me to do the whole thing again?
sure.
All right. That staff be directed to complete the confirmation of support from municipal government or equivalent authority to the Canadian Heritage for the Riga Festival, and that the amount of 5,000 cash and 2922 in-kind contribution match the 2019 Canadian Heritage submission.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Holmes? All those in favor? So that's approved. None opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Angelique. On to 11.6, Power Beach and James and Mary Gartrell Trail Flood Recovery Works Contract Award. Chris and David, I guess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
So just to recap, in 2017, we experienced some flooding along Okanagan Lake, which resulted in damage in 5 areas along the lakeshore: Powell Beach, James and Mary Garchall Trail, Rotary Beach, Peach Orchard Beach, and Lakeshore Drive North. We're now moving forward with the repairs at Powell Beach and James and Mary Garchall Trail at this time. So in 2019, in March of this year, the pre-design report was completed, which outlined the recovery works that would be eligible under the DFA program and recommended enhancements that would not be covered under the DFA, but that followed the Powell Beach management plan for that area.
Okay.
So the district's been working with our consultant to complete our DFA applications to ensure we maximize our funding recovery. However, it's important to note that this process will continue through construction until our claims are submitted, but it's not eligible for negotiation. It's based on legislation that's set provincially and federally as far as what's covered under recovery and what is not. So we've completed an NRFP process for these 2 projects. We're looking to award contracts to Cantex for Powell Beach in the order of $515,000 and to Superior Excavating for Garchall Trail in the order of $100,000. So these 2 amounts are just for the construction portions. In the attachments, you'll see the adjustments that we're proposing to the financial plan, which include other costs such as contract administration, engineering, environmental monitoring, and inspection, which is why those totals are somewhat higher on the financial plan total. Important to note the difference between the attachment 1 and 2. Attachment 1 shows the financial plan as it was passed earlier this year. The amendments that are recommended on attachment 2 are significantly higher. That's due to the fact that the pre-design report was completed in March after the financial plan process was underway. Then we moved into detailed design, and so those numbers that are in that initial financial plan are just based on the initial assessments that were done in 2018 and just looked at the damaged areas that were visible. Once we got into the detailed design process, we determined that, for instance, the majority of the trail in Powell Beach and parking lot was damaged and due for and able to be recovered under DFA, whereas initially it was only the small visible portions, so only a percentage of those areas were covered. Same with the Garchall Trail, where we anticipated it was just replacement of the gravel, but there was also a timber edging that was along both sides of the trail that was damaged that's deemed for full recovery as well.
Oh, good.
So based on that, we're looking to reallocate the funding that was, the funding sources that were identified in the 2019 financial plan from the land reserve. We're looking to allocate an additional $77,650 from a community contribution that was in the budget for Powell Beach from the development adjacent to the property that was given. And then looking to allocate an additional $42,350 from the Capital Works Reserve. For Garchall Trail, the existing budget was $30,000. With that, we're looking to cover the increased costs based on the reallocation of the land reserve fund within the financial plan. Just to briefly touch on some of the other emergency response projects that are noted on the financial plan, just to give council a brief update. 2 of them that were originally noted, the Peach Orchard boat launch and the walkway behind the Summerland waterfront, have been removed. There were only minor repairs that were covered, and those were dealt with under operations. Peach Orchard Beach and Rotary Beach pathways and Lakeshore Drive, the detailed designs have been completed. We've been working with DFA on the funding allocations that we can receive for that, but we're currently working with the province on the land tenure application and the Section 11s that are required for those 2 areas. The issue is that at the time of establishing those areas, there was a present natural boundary of the lake. Prior to doing any work or prior to them approving the Section 11, we have to confirm that present natural boundary and prove that the works that we're looking to do is outside of that. So that's taken some additional time, but we're looking to move forward with that. We are moving forward with that right now and looking to get approval this fall. But just with that delay, we're looking to postpone those 2 projects to 2020. That will allow council to revisit the funding sources for those 2 projects and the increased costs that are associated with them, and look at how that works into the overall financial plan moving forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Barkle?
Yes, I was wondering what sort of work North Lakeshore Drive requires. I know emergency measures, a lot of new riprap was dropped along the edge of the road.
Yep.
Is that not going to be sufficient, or?
It's not, and there's about 170 meters of the roadway that was eroded due to the high water that needs to be reconstructed. So we're looking to reconstruct mainly on the one large corner where there's barriers along the edge of the lakeshore. We're looking to reconstruct that portion of the roadway.
It's gotten too narrow, I guess? I just haven't noticed it as I go
No,
along
just
there.
the sub base has been compromised with the high water that was experienced.
That's an expensive portion.
Yes.
Councillor Traynor?
I'm really excited to see that these two projects are moving forward. I just have two questions. The first one is about Powell Beach. I believe the Lighthouse Landing development contributed $100,000. Has that part of that been spent already?
Yeah, the portion that has been spent was to create the management plan for Powell Beach.
Okay, that's what I thought. And secondly, with the James and Mary Gartrell Trail, I know that there's not going to be any further improvements. They're just bringing it back to where it was. But I'm wondering if there's any money for a sign, just to sign the trail. Like, it doesn't have any, there's nothing to tell people. Well, there is one further in once you get onto the trail, but nothing from the road. So a sign, and then like a no smoking sign as well along there, because there's often a lot of butts on there, and there's tons of shrubs and stuff. So it's a fire hazard. So I was wondering if that is something that could be considered.
That's something we could look at under operational, under our operational budgets, just as far as trail signage that's required. I don't think that was properly signed following the naming of it from council back in 2017 or 2016, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Patton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When we go into budget for 2020 in regards to the Rotary Beach and the Lakeshore Drive, the amounts that we have here are, we don't know what our disaster relief is on that yet, right? So we would be credited back on those?
We have a pretty good idea. We've estimated on the revised slide. So at the bottom, the top half shows the expenses. The bottom portion of the attachment shows the funding source. So the total of those two projects in 2020 is $975. We're estimating that $525 will be funded from DFA.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, thank you. Didn't at one time we have a bunch of trees that the RDOS set aside for us, a bunch of cottonwoods that we were going to put down at Powell Beach and and elsewhere? Are those trees still available to us?
We've been working with Allison Pete and Bryn White to establish an area in Powell Beach that will be put back to a more natural state. Those specific seedlings, I'm not sure if they're still available. I know that they were put aside for us for a while, but we do have funding through them to ensure we have cottonwood seedlings that we can place at Powell Beach. So the easternmost part of the park has been established and will be cordoned off as a natural area that we're looking to reestablish a lot of the natural vegetation, which will help with the high water, groundwater that we see in that area as well, and to just improve that transition from the constructed park that we're looking to reestablish in the natural boundary of the move east.
Councillor Barkle?
Could you elaborate a little bit more on what the Powell Beach, the work that will be done there is?
Councillor Barkle, I'll ask you to use your microphone too, please.
Yeah, so the work that will be done at Powell will be reconstructing the entire parking lot area as well as reconstructing the full pathway. There'll be a couple small additional legs of the pathway that goes along the beachfront and ties back into the parking lot just to connect the parking lot to that trail at a few midpoints. There'll be a vegetated swale that will be put in along to divide the residential area from the parking lot to provide a natural buffer along there. It'll also handle all the drainage from the asphalt parking lot as well. And then we're just reconfiguring the parking to maximize the space that we have there. So there'll be new parking lines, and there'll also be a post and rope fence put along sections of the park to restrict vehicles from entering into the grassed areas.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, so there's a three-part recommendation there. I'm going to ask that the three resolutions come forward as separate resolutions. Is there anyone that would like to bring the first one forward? Councillor Traynor.
I'll bring it forward as written, unless you need me to read it out.
Well, because it has to do with money, I think it should be read out.
That the Powell Beach Park Recovery Works, with the total project cost of $585,000, be funded from Disaster Financial Assistance $232,000 and the Land Sales Reserve $353,000. And that the James and Mary Gartrell Trail Flood Recovery Works, with the cost of $125,000, be funded from Disaster Financial Assistance $92,000, and increasing the Land Sales Reserve allocation from increased allocation, from $6,000 to $33,000.
And further.
That last one is worded.
Further.
Oh,
Yeah.
and there's a third, sorry.
And further.
And further, that staff prepare a bylaw to amend Financial Plan 2019-2023, bylaw number 2019-012, to incorporate these changes.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Van Elfen. All those in favor? Okay, that one's approved. And who'd like to bring forward the second one, please? Councillor Patton.
Start reading.
That the construction contract for the Powell Beach Park Flood Recovery Works be awarded to Cantex, Okanagan Construction Limited, up to the amount of $515,000, and that staff be authorized to finalize and execute the contract.
So that's for the Powell Beach, seconded by Councillor Barquo. All in favor? Great. And the third one? Councillor Barquo.
I'll take the shortest one.
Thank you.
That the construction contract for the James and Mary Gartrell Trail Flood Recovery Work be awarded to Superior Excavating in the amount of $100,000, and that staff be authorized to finalize and execute the contract.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Traynor. All those in favor? Great. Are we at the end? No, we're not. 11.7, financial results as of June the 30th, 2019. Mr. Svetlichny, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
The financial reports for the general water, sewer, and electric funds operations to June 30th have been included in Council's agenda for your review. The data includes budget figures for the current and previous year, actual year-to-date results for the current year, as well as actual annual results for the past 3 years. So it provides a breadth of information. The 2019 budgeted revenues for the district on the operations side was $36.96 million. So far, at the end of June, the district has collected $22.1 million, which is approximately 60%. In analyzing the detailed information, revenue collection within each fund has been very consistent with historical averages, within 1% or 2% on each side. And staff at this point in time does not have any major concerns in regards to revenue collection. On the expense side, analyzing the detailed GL for the expenses, 2019 operational spending is primarily within anticipated levels and is also within historical averages outside of two areas that we'll talk about in a minute. So based on current spending trends, where staff is confident that none of the departments will go over their allotted budgets. One of the two functions that staff did look into a little bit more was 2019 general government year-to-date spending is 51 or 52% already of the 2019 budget. Now that's comparing that to 2018, it was only at 40%. So it is a large increase. The two major contributing factors, because there are lots, we have probably over 300 to 600 GL accounts in the general government fund, and they fluctuate from year to year. But the two biggest ones are our staffing changes and increased council remuneration, as well as 2019 year-to-date legal expenses are up considerably over 2018. We did have collective bargaining this year where we used some legal. There were quite a few other areas, contract review and some negotiations there. So hence the increase in that in general government services. As well, development services year-to-date spending is approximately $344,000, and that's 38% of the budget. So of course, when we compare that to 2018, it was $277,000 and 34% of the budget. Again, the largest factor there is staffing changes. The new position, the manager position that was created. When we look at the overall capital plan, the district's 2019 budget was just over $27 million for all of our capital projects. Now, this plan included two projects that were budgeted at $9.2 million that were heavily dependent on grant funding. Additionally, the district has also budgeted $6.9 million for the solar and battery storage project. None of those funds have been spent to date. So these three projects alone make up well over 50% of the capital budget. So from an analytical perspective, it's my opinion they should be removed when we're just looking at last year's comparative figures. So a revised capital plan is $11.9 million. Spending to date, spending to June 30th is $1.65 million, and that's about 13.9% of the revised capital plan, which is lower than anticipated. However, it's very similar to where we've been at in previous years. And it's staff's belief that with the addition of the new procurement manager, we are anticipating this current level of spending to not be a significant concern. And as RFPs start rolling out the door, capital projects will get underway and be completed. And that's my report.
Thank you. Questions of our Director of Finance?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not a question, just a comment.
Okay.
Thank you. This was very informative, and it shows that we are being fiscally responsible and that our budgets are running very similar to what we had discussed back in the springtime. So, well done.
Okay, so we just need to receive this for information then if there are no other questions. Could I have somebody, thank you, Councillor Patton and Councillor Barkwell. All those in favor? Okay, none opposed. Okay, last item, 11.8. Thank you. Union of BC Municipalities, the District of Summerland requests, and this is for our CAO.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So this report provides a brief update on the Council's UBCM meeting requests for the 2019 UBCM Convention. Staff have sent in on behalf of Council and the community request UBCM and are currently waiting to hear confirmation of these meetings. So there's 4 meeting requests that have been sent forward. The first one is to the Ministry of Forest Lands and Natural Resource Operations. First of all, to thank them for the work to date on the Eneas Creek project and improved communications between the district and provincial staff. The second component, to see if there's any interest in moving forward with a pilot project or a pilot partnership to help private landowners move forward with work on their properties, or to see if the Ministry has any experience in dealing with similar issues in other municipalities. The second meeting with the Ministry of Transportation looks to explore ways of improving safety cycling in Summerland, or between the Summerland and Penticton corridor. And the second component to this meeting will look at intersection safety improvements and analysis along Bentley Road, Highway 97, and the Summerland Research and Development Centre. The Giants Head Road upgrade is also a topic of conversation we want to have with the Ministry to look at giving favourable consideration to the district's grant application, as that will certainly allow some cost savings if undertaken simultaneously. The third meeting is with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy, and there's a couple of components to this meeting. The first one is to continue funding and resourcing, removing barriers for climate change adaptation initiatives, as we've outlined in the staff report. The second component refers to the ability for releasing the community energy and emission inventory data in a more consistent manner that will provide staff and the community with better data as we move forward with our climate action strategies. The third component looks at allowing small communities to have multiple recycling depot drop-off locations, creating a curbside solution for glass, styrofoam and soft plastics. The fourth component is meeting with a number of different ministries: the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, Municipal Affairs and State for Childcare, and this speaks to the recommendation that's in the staff report. So since January, the district have been meeting with a range of professionals from the healthcare industry, including the South Okanagan Similkameen Division of Family Practice, to identify opportunities to partner on community health infrastructure, and considering the needs around the additional gymnasium space at the Summerland Secondary School and the upgrades required to the Summerland Swimming Pool and Aquatic Centre, the alignment for a joint use facility has significant potential in our community over the coming years. So the district's looking at support in principle from the ministries for this collaborative approach, which fulfills several needs as I've outlined in the community. So the recommendation in front of council is to sign a joint letter of support with the school district, Penticton Indian Band Regional District, South Okanagan Similkameen Division of Family Practice, and other partners to commence a community engagement process for a joint use facility for a Summerland Community Health and Wellness Centre. So we're looking forward to having that discussion at UBCM over the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. So you would like us to pass that resolution, right? To
Yes,
sign a joint
correct.
letter? Okay. So any questions of our CAO? Councillor Holmes.
I'm just wondering, what is a joint letter of support? What does that commit us to?
So that the joint letter of support will signal to the four ministries that there is a unified front in moving an initiative like this forward. And we recognise that there's a pretty significant process that needs to be undertaken to look at site locations, look at space needs, look at the funding mechanisms, the financials, all those details yet to be undertaken. The intention of having all those ministries in the room is to show a united front, as I've said. The letter of support from each of these organisations or groups will certainly provide, I think, a lot better coordinated approach to moving this project forward.
Is that good, Councillor Holmes?
Yeah,
Do you have
well,
another question?
I guess, I mean, in principle, I don't have an issue with it. My concern is that it might tie us into, it commits us to something that we've never actually discussed as a council. We don't know what the alternatives are. We haven't heard from our rec department in terms of scoping for our new rec center and all those sort of things. So I would be, before we do all that, I'd be, if this doesn't commit us 100% to, then I'm fine, because if it's exploring, then that's a good thing, but if it's a commitment, then I have some concerns.
Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm for council that there's no commitment whatsoever for any financial commitment or any commitment of financial nature to a project like this. I think the intention of the letter of support is to commence a process and really commence a discussion around what a facility may look like in Summerland with these partners coming to the table. So the process is only beginning, and I think that the next steps will certainly determine what the potential of a project like this will look like.
Councillor Barkwell?
So if we are successful in getting meetings with any or all of these ministries, we spoke about having representative of the school board with us. Would it also be possible to have representatives from these other partner groups, the Family Division of Family Practice and the Regional District in the room? You know, just, I think it adds some sort of emphasis.
Yes, so through the Chair, Your Worship, we're certainly looking at having the ability to have all these organisations in the room where we can, and a number of them will be there already at the convention.
Thank you. Oh, and one other comment. I'm glad to see that there's something about the, having a second recycling depot in the town. I don't know how we go about changing things, but it's kind of silly that we can't have one. And I'm glad to see you're addressing it. We're glad to see that we're addressing it.
Okay, Councillor Van Elfen,
Put the resolution on the floor, Madam Mayor.
please do.
Thank you. That the District of Summerland sign a joint letter of support with School District 67, the Penticton Indian Band, Regional District of Okanagan-Slocommine, South Okanagan-Slocommine Division of Family Practice, and other potential partners to commence a community engagement process for a joint use facility, a Summerland Community Health and Wellness Center.
Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Patton. Any further discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Holmes.
It's not directly related. I'm just wondering if there would still be opportunities to put in a request to meet with the departmental staff while we're there. And I'm thinking specifically agriculture staff to talk about the food hub.
Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, through the Chair, we can certainly put out that request to the Ministry of Agriculture to see if we can sort out a time with the ministry staff. So we'll certainly take that on board.
You can make staff appointments right at UBCM. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? No. Okay, so that is carried. Item 12 is information items. 12.1 is correspondence. There are several pieces of correspondence, including Councillor Holmes' RDOS summary. Is there anything that Councillor would like to bring forward out of those? Okay. Oh, Councillor Holmes.
No, just on my RDOS summary, just if people could let me know, not right now, but if that meets your needs, if you're happy with the way I'm doing this, if it's too much information, not enough information, whatever, I just like your feedback, and I'm here at your service. So.
You got to put pictures in. Yeah. Graphics.
Yes. Okay, could I have someone bring that forward for information? Receive the correspondence. Councillor Van Elfen, seconded by Councillor Holmes. All those in favor? Great. We have about 8 minutes to do our councillor reports. 7 minutes. Starting with Doug Patton. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Enjoyed the fall fair. It was great. Other than that, I have nothing to report.
Okay. Councillor Traynor.
At almost 9 months pregnant, I don't have much energy to do much. I hope to be back in the game in a month or two. But I will attempt to do the Terry Fox run walk this weekend. And unfortunately, I won't be able to go to UBCM this year, so I wanted to wish everybody good luck and hope it goes well for you. And I'll be thinking of you guys, and I'll see you at the end of October.
Yes. We're going to miss you. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I just had an opportunity this weekend to attend the car show, and I can see how difficult it would have been to pick a winner, that's for sure. There was some beautiful iron in the park, and also had the opportunity Saturday to go to the fall fair and do a walkabout there, and really enjoyed a lot of the displays. And that's about all I have to report. Thank you.
Good. Out and about. Councillor Holmes?
I think, Madam Mayor, I think you covered most of the events. I'd just like to say, with the Riga Festival, the car show, Fall Fair, this time of year, there's some just incredible community events going on, and it's great to see so many people out for all of them. And the only other thing I want to say is, after the famous Canadian win at the U.S. Open on Saturday, we might have to look at building some more tennis courts because a lot of people will want to be taking up the game now.
Yeah, that was amazing. Councillor Barkwell?
So I have 6 minutes for my report?
No, you have to allow time for...
Yeah, I enjoyed the Fall Fair Friday evening in the park. It's great to have that event in the park now, and then at the arena. And the transformation to the car show, it just,
Unbelievable.
they move all those cars in somehow early in the morning, and it's great. And the Riga Festival, I enjoyed 3 events there. And there's a lot going on this time of year in Summerland.
Yes, there is. Great. Okay, so we've come to the opportunity for the public, and I see the media has left. Is there anyone in the gallery that would care to comment on anything? Okay, time's up. Adjournment?
Move.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Van Elfen. All in favor? Oops, perfect.